Hey guys, Freedom Chef here, Series 2, Episode 5, Resolute TV. Thanks for joining me. Sun's shining today, sensational day here in Resolution. Can't complain, life's pretty good. It's the day after the Queensland elections and everything that went on down there. I can't say I was thrilled with the results. In saying that, it's not because I'm, worried about whether or not it was Liberal or Labor who got in. The one that concerned me the most was how the smaller parties, such as One Nation, got absolutely smashed. It's disappointing to see. There's a lot of theories or theories that I have as to why that may or may not have happened. We start with the damage that's been done to regional media. I think there is a fair argument that a lot of local newspapers and a lot of local real boots on the ground type stuff no longer exists. So it changes the dynamic, which I'm certain favours the big parties. And look, the other thing is when you've got such long lead-ins for an election, pre-polling and pre-voting, smaller parties just don't have the resources, the manpower to campaign for 16, 20 days. They just don't have it. It's too bloody hard. People can't take 16 days off work to go and stand man a booth. The big parties do have those resources. To their credit, I guess, but it's really anything longer than a week of pre-polling I'm dead against. But anyway, it's the world we live in. I can't say I'm thrilled with it. I'm disappointed that that's how it played, but 2020, what is there to be, not a little bit disappointed about? There's plenty of stuff to whinge and moan about. I've had a great week, as you all know. Freedom Midget exists now. He's on board on Team Freedom Chef, Freedom Dean, Freedom Team. So for me, it's actually been a really great week, and I'm feeling exceptional. So we're going to wind up series episode 5 with our interview with Garry Stewart. So Garry Stewart's president of the William Wallace Society, all the way over there in Scotland. His accent's thick, top bloke. Very passionate about the society and the character and the history of William Wallace. So check him out. He's great. We've also got Larry Sharpe. We're winding up the last of mine and Larry's discussion tonight. Larry is absolutely brilliant. His way of dissecting a problem and coming up with alternatives is next level. He's very inspirational as somebody you can listen and learn from, but also he does like to put it in practice. He is fantastic. And we're going to wind up our little discussion with Larry tonight. Check out The Sharpe Way. If you're not catching him on Resolute, catch him on his own channels, The Sharpe Way. The guy's great. You'll love him. So guys, on that note, let's go with Larry Sharpe and kick the game off.
Because that's an actual solution. And when people are desperate enough to fix a problem, they look for someone who has a solution. And generally speaking, left-right paradigm politicians don't have solutions. They're only protecting you from the evil one.
Yeah, and protecting themselves from being out of a job. But
Absolutely.
it is the perfect segue. I was going to ask, now I've done a little bit of research on you. I've watched a lot of your things. The cannabis and onions thing, now I've seen it. I thought it was very clever, of course. Do you want to tell our viewers this program what that's all about? Because obviously I'd like to see cannabis legalised here far more than it is as well.
Absolutely.
Cannabis and onions, mate. Cannabis and onions.
Yes. Actually, I did it off the cuff based upon something that I really care about. And that is when you're going to have policies, one of the things that libertarians do poorly, and that is they use phrases that no one likes. And they talk about, the end game, like we need to make sure that, any 7-year-old kids can harvest cannabis fields, stuff like that. Right. Which immediately the average person goes, you're crazy. Goodbye. Right. Yeah. So I then say, because remember, there is a culture in America and across the world, but heavily in America, that somehow weed is bad. cannabis is a gateway drug. It's none of that's true, but that's still what the culture says, and culture matters. Politics is not about who's right and who's wrong. Politics is about popularity contest, emotion, and culture. That's what it's actually about. So if you're going to play that game, then know the rules of that game. So what do I always try to do? Create a policy that is radical enough for someone to go, huh, but familiar enough for them to accept.
Yeah.
And that's like any product or service in the market. I'm a business guy. That's what you do. It's got to be different enough, but it's the same. Why do you think all our cell phones are called cell phones? They're not cell phones. They're mini computers.
Yep.
But they're called cell phones because that's familiar enough for people to handle. That's why they called it that years ago when it became a computer. They didn't go mini computers because people who are over 50 would have said, I don't need that. A phone, yep. I need that. So, so that's why I use the word regulate, because the average New Yorker loves regulation. Love it. Gotta have regulates. They love it because they love it. So I say, let's regulate it, but like a plant that's not really regulated. So familiar enough, but radical enough. I picked onions because when I was doing this, I was live. I do all my stuff live, so I get better at this, right? I was live in Western New York. And in Western New York, most people don't know this, we grow onions. That's what you do in Western New York. So I used what the local people grow, which was onions. So I said, we should regulate it like onions. That's why that came, right? Because I was in an area where they grew onions. So I said, we're to regulate it like onions and treat it like a plant and allow farmers to have a cash crop in New York State. And they were like, oh, yeah, we could, the farmer could actually make money. No extra taxes, there's no need for it, because what we realized is, my team did the numbers. As a general rule, once you pass 3% on a tax, you encourage a black market. Yep. So if I can buy the product, whatever, I can buy my product on the black market for $1 or in a store for $1.03. Generally speaking, I buy it in a store. Yep. Once it goes to $1.04, I start thinking black market.
Yeah. Is there a cheaper option? Is there a better way to find it? Where do I
start to gamble on the black market once it's about 4 or 5% more is when I begin to gamble in the black market. When it's 20, 30, 40%, I'm begging for a black market. Please bet black market. I'm begging for it. So I said no extra taxes whatsoever, but I did say that I would accept up to a 2% tax to not have a black market, so that now farmers can actually grow the crop the way they want to. People could grow their medicine in their backyard if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Right. That was all things I was trying to create. And it became very popular. People thought about it. But to your point, I didn't get enough press.
Yeah.
I did not get enough press.
It's bloody hard to do. And I mean, you guys seem to have similar problems, obviously, as far as getting the press. I don't know what sort of extreme lengths we have to go to try and sell, which are generally really good policies. I think libertarians struggle. We're poor salesmen.
Yes.
I find in that sphere, and the libertarians are a very broad church. So we have some brilliant minds, some of the intellect that comes out, and I sit there and just go, how did I end up in this circle? These guys are intellectual heavyweights, but we are poor salesmen. And most people tune out after the first, 3.5 minutes of the lecture on why the war on drugs is a bad idea. But I know somebody who was a drug addict, and that's the end of that discussion. They'll tune out really quickly, and we've got to find better ways to upsell it, or not upsell, obviously, but to get people to think.
Drugs. For your people who are watching and want to see an interesting take on the war on drugs and the war on terror, they can Google Larry Sharpe, Columbia University war on drugs, and I literally have a YouTube page. I did about 30 minutes or so on those two at Columbia University. It's an interesting speech. If you want to see it, please enjoy.
But I'll put the link in the description as well, so that'll be
please. So when people say, well, my son or daughter died from an overdose or from drugs, what I will tell them right to their face, and my mother was an addict. So I know what it's like to have an addict in your life. And I said, I will tell them, so let me ask you, if I could, your son in this case, I'm making it up, right? Your son, I'm assuming maybe he was off for a bit and he came out and then got a bad batch. Yeah, he got fentanyl. Fentanyl killed him or whatever. I go, I got it. I'm sorry for your loss. I want to be clear on something. drugs didn't kill your son. The war on drugs killed your son. Because if those drugs weren't illegal, there wouldn't have been any fentanyl in them. He would have got them from an actual legal place like a drugstore or something like that. Now, would he still be an addict? Maybe, but he'd be alive. And we'd have a chance to have him clean. Now we can't. The war on drugs killed your son, not the drugs. So if you want to be mad at somebody, I get it. Be mad at our last 8 presidents. Every one of them could have stopped the war on drugs, and they didn't. So you want to blame someone? Blame them. Blame everybody from Nixon to Trump. Blame every one of them in between. They're the ones who killed your son. Because if they had stopped the war on drugs and just taken cannabis off of Schedule 1, that's all, to allow for cannabis products, your son would probably be alive. I don't know if he'd still be an addict. That I don't know. But he'd be alive. You'd have a chance to make him not an addict.
Yeah, and we can't protect everybody all the time from everything either. So we've got to be realistic.
I don't want to say that to some woman who just lost her son.
No. But this is between you and I.
Talking
About it. Yeah, obviously I don't want to say to her, oh, yeah, by the way, too bad. And sometimes I get caught out as coming across as a bit harsh. But, I mean, we just can't, as a society, you can't save everybody from themselves.
Yeah, but when you lose someone close to you, it is human nature to want to blame somebody. That's human nature. So I still give her someone to blame. Blame the last 8 presidents. Blame them. Yeah. Point your finger at them and say, why didn't you end the war on drugs? And my son would still be here, and I'd have a chance at getting him off this drug right now. Because here's what I know, having an addict in my life. I don't know what's going to turn somebody. Is it the first I love you, the 100th I love you, or the 1,000th I love you? I don't know when that's going to turn that person, but one of them will if I give them a chance.
Yeah.
But if they're dead from a fentanyl overdose, that goes away.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a horrible scenario for anybody to be in. And I've been very fortunate. There's never been any great deal of drug issues in and around my family at all. We've been very, I just put down to good fortune, you know. Nobody's ever really, not in my immediate family, certainly, you know, a little bit further out, things have started to affect people, but, you know, and it's been very fortunate. So I'm very grateful for that, and I know most of my family are.
But government punishment isn't going to help your cousin or whomever the person is you're speaking of. Isn't going to help that person. Government punishment isn't, right? The problem is when you have a war on drugs, I'm going to preach for a little bit on this just for the point, right? When you have a war on drugs, let's say you found out that one of your cousins was on drugs and now he was dealing drugs so he can make money to buy his drug. And that's a very common thing, right? He's dealing so he can buy because he can't have a job because he's on drugs, but he's got to make money. So he sells drugs to buy his drug to keep his habit. If you know that and it's against the law and you might go to jail, are you going to hang around that guy? Probably not. And here's the worst part. That's when he needs you most. He's an addict.
The support network.
Yes. He needs the chef now more than ever.
Yeah.
But the chef doesn't want to hang out with him because the chef might go to jail. He knows that too. And if you're close and he actually loves you, he also knows you might go to jail. He doesn't want to punish you for his addict. So now he withdraws himself on purpose and hangs out with other people who do this because they don't judge him. They don't judge each other, and they're going to go to jail anyway. So who cares? Yeah. So he literally separates himself. Damage. Yes, absolutely. So the part that it's illegal ensures that your cousin can't get the support that he or she needs to get off their problem, right? They need you now more than ever. They're an addict, and they can't have you.
Yeah, and you, from what I understand, you went through it very, very personally.
Yes, my mother was an addict.
You know, I mean, that must have been horrific. I mean, I can't imagine
I had to get out of prison.
You know, that's a terrible thing to have to go through for anybody. You know, and I the other side of it, I've also looked at is with the cannabis as a medicinal purpose. You know, you see people who they have cancer, or they have whatever the ailment is that's pretty extreme. They may be, heading towards their deathbed, and cannabis has proven to be a huge salvation for many of these people. But they're good citizens who are terrified of being, one, labelled a drug addict, and I know people in the elderly category who would automatically, oh, I couldn't do that. I'd be taking drugs. No, this stuff's actually really quite good for you, and a lot of doctors would agree so. But
I would ask that, look at your night table right now. Are there any pills on that night table? Yeah, I take 7 prescriptions. So you take drugs? Well, no, I don't take drugs. But
how would you sell that to a 70 or 80-year-old who's, always, well, doctors are good people who do the right thing. The guy selling me my weed is a dodgy person who is a criminal. And that's a really hard
and sometimes accurate.
It's very true, very true. But,
sometimes accurate. Yes.
But if you could get that cannabis from your doctor that you trusted and there wasn't the stigma attached to it, your final years as a cancer patient could be far more comfortable, far more, I don't know if pleasant's the word, but I think about all those sort of things. And then I also think that apart from the stigma, if you're a bit nervous but you do want to take it because you've heard it's really good but you don't want anyone to know, who do you go to? Who's the person you go to? You can't go to your local GP, depending on what state and what country you're in. The war on drugs is a miserable failure. And I think Joe Rogan said it a couple of weeks back, something about, the government's fighting a war against the plant. The plant doesn't have any money or any weapons, and it's still winning. So,
yes, absolutely. Yes.
It's an embarrassing state of affairs. But look, Larry, you've got a heap of other really interesting policies. I'm hoping you're happy enough to keep sharing some of them with us. Some that I noticed, you've got a pretty serious firearms policy. I also noticed that you want to put, as far as lowering taxation for New Yorkers, selling advertising on the bridge was sort of the general gist that I picked up as how you wanted to do it.
Leasing naming rights.
So
right.
And I don't
know if you have this in Australia. I don't know if you've been in America. Many of our football stadiums and baseball stadiums have the name of a company on them, right? So it's not like the New York City Stadium. It is the, MetLife Stadium or the Aetna Stadium, right? It's the name of a company that is on the stadium, and they pay a fee to have that, right? It's several tens of millions of dollars per year generally. And what I said is New York City it has at least a dozen bridges and tunnels that are in trouble and are hurting and all kind of problems. Why aren't we leasing name rights to the bridge? Why is it, for example, the JFK Bridge? Why isn't it instead the Verizon Bridge or the Sprint Bridge or the Google Bridge or the Amazon Bridge or whatever, right? I don't care. And people say, well, why would they pay for that? I said, here's why. Number one, you make it an Amazon Bridge, as whatever the case may be. You charge about $100 million a year. I'm not even joking. $100 million a year. Why? These are companies that are dropping billions with a B, billions of dollars on advertising every single year in marketing. They don't know where to put it. I got an idea. I got a bridge. Put it on my bridge. Here's why. If you put on my bridge, every Google map within about a week is going to have your name popping up when I'm across that bridge. So off the bat, you've got advertising right there. I'm still not done. New York City is a 16 million person metro area. 1 million people at least cross that bridge every day. Maybe physically see it. Not just that, right? So much media is done in New York City. Netflix shows, Amazon Prime shows, and they show the skyline. So you get product placement in all these movies. Free. There, done. So you get all that just to have a bridge. Now, part of the deal, right, is you have to take care of maintenance. Maintenance is part of the deal. We still own the bridge as the city or the state owns the bridge, and we still inspect the bridge. Right now, across New York State, bridges collapse. Now they collapse. That's how bad our infrastructure is. Yes, happens in New York State. Every year, at least one bridge collapses. Not in New York City so far, but across New York State.
Yeah, well.
You can do that, so which means we'll actually have safer bridges. Because right now we can't inspect them and fix them, but Amazon can. Because if Amazon doesn't do it, well, the Amazon bridge collapses. They don't want that in the paper. And not just that, they'll loot before it collapses. If it goes to a certain level, we'll remove the contract they paid in advance. You lost your money. Now it's a Verizon bridge. Sorry. But we're still not done. Now when I have the bridge maintenance being taken care of, and I'm getting $100 million, why do I have tolls? No need for tolls. Some of the tolls in New York City are $18 per bridge. $18 one way per bridge. How can the average person afford it? They can't.
No.
So now instead those go away. Now people can drive back and forth across the bridge. We can travel easier, right? Safer bridges, cheaper bridges, and we're raising money, $100 million each. You say, Larry, will they pay $100 million? Yeah, they pay $20 million a year for a stadium that's used on the weekends. This is a bridge used every day by millions of people with free product placement for as long as that movie is on Netflix or Amazon Prime or however long this movie is in play for eternity. This is a home run. And how do I know that? Because when I brought it up, I had bankers in Manhattan asking me about the leasings.
Oh yeah, right.
Asking. Because
it makes sense. It's an entrepreneurial solution to a government problem, and for me that goes brilliant. How good's that? That makes all the sense in the world. Why wouldn't every country be doing things like that? And it lowers the cost of living for your people.
Yep,
your citizens. I think governments forget that they're supposed to be providing. Well, the citizens aren't supposed to be funding the government's lifestyle. The taxes that they do take from us, I don't really endorse most of them, but they're there for the people. It's not actually theirs for the politicians to feather the nests or hand out corporate benefits.
Well, you got to remember though, the vast majority of politicians only know politics.
Yep.
Which means all they know is taxation. That's all they know. Taxes, fees, fines. They can't imagine this type of thing. It's not in their world. They can't even imagine it. But imagine I did something else. There's an interstate in upstate New York that is terribly maintained. And they said, how are you going to pay to fix that? I said, I'm not. They said, what? I said, I'm not. I'm going to have Google pay for that. They went, how? I said, here's how. All of our major interstates, upstate New York, have a lot of space on each side. It's very wide and open in upstate New York. Not true in New York City, but upstate is very true. So I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to allow Google to build a Google road right next to the interstate. And the leasing, the rental fee for the Google road is maintenance on the regular road. So now they pay for the maintenance to keep the Google road there. And now what happens? Now you as the consumer have a choice. Do you want to take the Google road with the Google cars and the Google this? Do you want to? Or do you want the regular road? They're both maintained. Good luck.
Take your pick. Work out what you want to do.
Which way you want to go on? You want to jump in one of them Google cars and drive around? Good for you. You want to drive in your car on the regular road? Good for you. Whatever you want.
Mate, I think that's a phenomenal idea. And I just love to bash through to all these politicians' heads.
Yes.
There are alternatives.
We got potholes all around upstate New York and New York City, all over, potholes everywhere. Well, the crews can't fix them fast enough. I said, don't worry about it. You know who's fixing them right now? They said, who? I said, Domino's Pizza, which if you guys don't know. Yes, Domino's Pizza. Yes, they're fixing it. Why? Because it's tearing up their cars. So what do? They fix the pothole and they put a Domino's logo on the pothole they fix. So what do? I say, hey, Domino's, you are now authorized, if you want to fix all the potholes in New York State. Yep. Enjoy if you want to. Go ahead. And you get to put your logo on it. In fact, if you want to, take control of an entire section and you can sponsor that part of the road if you want to. We have this already. It's called Adopt a Highway in New York, and it's for cleaning. I'm making for potholes. Now, of course, people say, well, if they're doing that, that's not good. Well, I said, why? They have to make good potholes. They're gonna fix it. But here's what's most important. Now Pizza Hut sees it and goes, we want that. McDonald's, I want that. Now they're all starting to fix potholes. And of course, the argument is, but then we'll lose jobs. No, we won't. They have to hire people to know how to fix potholes. So they'll hire the people who can know how to do it for the government.
The pizza boy who's delivering your pizza isn't going to stop and do potholes on the way.
That's correct.
People to do it. And on top of that, your entire infrastructure is being managed by businesses who want to do it, as opposed to robbing your actual citizens who are just trying to pay the bills, robbing them blind to solve problems that, let's be fair, governments, if something costs $1, they manage to find a way to make it cost $5. And that's, I'm sure it's true for New York as it is
absolutely.
For, Temora, Shire Council, or any of the places over here, Sydney, Melbourne, anywhere else. It's all madness, and they're the sort of things that you sort of just go perfect. Brilliant.
But the best part is, I don't care how much it costs them to fix it. It's irrelevant to me because I'm not paying for it. So if they become very efficient, awesome. If they're inefficient, awesome. I don't really care. It's not my point, right? I don't care.
The pothole's fixed.
And again, we still own it and we still inspect it. And if they don't do it right, they lose that. And now McDonald's gets it, or now whatever gets it. Again, the same thing goes through. Now, the other argument I get is, but then what if it's only on major roads and the poor people don't do it? I said, well, I'm not getting rid of the people who fix potholes for the government. I'm not getting rid of them. So now they can actually service the poorer communities then. So the poorer communities get better service and better roads, and the major roads all get solved, and no one pays an extra dollar in taxes.
Everybody's winning. That sounds
Everybody's winning. Yes.
That's ridiculous. How could you come up with something like that and think that's reasonable, mate? What is wrong with you?
Clearly, I have a mental issue.
I think most of us do think like that. You know, I sit there and, I use, I don't know if you guys have like council or local swimming pools and gyms and things like that,
Sure.
And I sit there and people go, oh, well, they need to make them cheaper. Why are our rates so high? And it's like, well, it's all correlated. Like if you don't use X, Y, and Z, why are you paying for it? Or how do you pay for it? Or how do you manage it better? If a business could sponsor a local park as opposed and fund a certain amount of maintenance on it, as opposed to, right, every citizen in X radius must pay a levy, a fee, a tax for something they may or may not have any interest in using, well, that doesn't work for me.
And people from other areas will often show up and use it anyway.
Well, yeah, that's right. And you just, I don't know, I sort of, a user pays system appeals far more to me than we're just going to take, and then we'll decide how.
Well, the other issue is you can also create, if you like, again, localities, local government can, if they want to, create a situation to where, this local community pool or community thing may only be sponsored by local groups. So you might have a local business association that would sponsor it. And with today's technology, you rotate the ads through. So today it's Joe's Diner. Next week it's Bob's Hardware Store. And next week it's Jane's Pizzeria and whatever. And it's the local businesses can all sponsor it, getting a little piece each through a business association. Totally can be done.
Yep.
And then the local people who show up there, who after they have their swim, might want to grab a slice of pizza. And now Jane's Pizzeria can get that business because they want some pizza or whatever they want.
Yeah. Look, I mean, that sounds like a brilliant concept. We need to be selling more and more of that stuff to our leaders, dictators, whatever you want to call them, and sort of get them to think.
I prefer overlord, but fine.
Overlord, whatever it is, it's all very upsetting, But I did want to touch on your gun policy. Now, I'm not a gun nut by any stretch of the imagination.
Neither am I. I don't even own a firearm.
Yep, which for an American, that sounds very unusual. We all picture John Rambo every time we think of US citizens over here. But obviously you're aware of the Australian gun laws and the buybacks we had in 96. They were they're considered pretty extreme. We don't have a Second Amendment. Mm-hmm. We don't. I think we've got a constitution somewhere. Oh, look, I know we do.
We don't look at ours much either. I get it.
The people in Australia aren't aware that there is a constitution. It's quite crazy, whereas you guys are fairly passionate about yours, and your Declaration of Independence is probably one of the most moving things I've ever read that I sort of just love to bits. So we really need one here.
Well, we got divorced from the UK. You kind of didn't.
No, well, we didn't. Look, yeah. Part of me would like to divorce from Australia sometimes when I see the things that they do. I'm saying, how do we do this? This is crazy. Yeah. But
you guys had like a weird separation agreement. We got divorced.
Yeah. We sort of we're sort of still related. And look, and there are certain benefits to that, of course.
Sure.
And there are certain relationship aspects that are great. What you guys did was just, the way the history of it reads for me, it was very appealing. And I don't look at America by any stretch of the imagination. Go, that's the perfect model to run a country. I go, there's some really good aspects of it.
Yes, right? That's true. Yes, and we are by no means perfect, but we got some good things. We do got a couple good things.
Really cool things. And one of them is obviously the right to bear arms. What are your thoughts on that, mate? And obviously, what are your thoughts on ours? Because we obviously get a lot of criticism from people.
No, the right to bear arms to me is a very important one. And it's important, you know, when the framers of our country put together the First Amendment, they realized that was the most important amendment, because without freedom of speech, without freedom of religion, without freedom of association, without freedom of press, you don't have a society. It doesn't exist, right? You live under the thumb of some autocrat. And that's why the First Amendment is so important and why it's number one. Some people say number two is the most important. They're wrong. The First Amendment is the number one important amendment. I'm glad it's first. That's what it's all about. You don't have a society if you don't have the First Amendment. Yep. The Second Amendment was made to protect the first. That's why you have it, right? An armed populace is a polite populace as a general rule. It's not always 100% true, but a general rule it is. And the more that the government cannot take over, usually it doesn't, right? The first steps that government autocrats do is disarm the populace, right? Socialists believe that you should have an armed populace, meaning hardcore socialists, because they're ready to overthrow the government whenever they possibly can. They want to get rid of tyrants. Yep. So even socialists say you want to have an armed populace. Now, the argument is, well, you can't beat the American government because we got guns and bombs. Well, the Vietnamese would say that's not true. The Afghanis would say that's not true. And they'd be right, because they kicked our ass both times. Yep. And we had nuclear bombs and fighter planes and napalm and drones, and we lost both times, right? We lost in Afghanistan and we lost in Vietnam. So yeah, no, that's wrong. You can, but not just that. Why would a government ever nuke its own people? It won't. It will. Governments don't destroy their own people. They oppress their own people. That's what governments do, right? They destroy other people, but their own people they oppress. Others they kill. So I'm not worried about the government killing everybody in our country. They're going to destroy the entire country. Will they oppress the country? Yeah. And it's a whole lot harder to round people up and put them into camps when they'll shoot back. A whole lot harder. Can be done.
All these lockdowns, we've seen a big difference. The Australian population, people who are protesting, they rock up with their guns, they pack them up, load them into vans and send them off. Sorry, you're being essentially kidnapped, because there's no actual law that makes any of this lawful. In the US, they think twice when there's a fella standing there with a gun. I actually saw some footage the other day that looked like a couple of fellas standing outside. I think they were outside a barbershop or something that had decided it was opening hell nor high water, and a bunch of blokes showed up. I don't know what organisation they were from. I don't know whether they're blue or red or what, but they were standing at the front. One guy looked like he had a bloody bazooka, for God's sakes. And he said, this guy can run his business. Anyone here is here for a haircut or whatever it was, in you go.
Yes.
And you know what? Your government and the officials were thinking, oh, shit.
I don't want to mess with that, because I'm going to take 3 rounds, right? You got to remember. And something else to remember, the United States has been at war, perpetual war, for over 70 years. So we have a massive veteran-trained population, me included. So we're not afraid of guns. We know how to use guns. And those of us who are combat, I'm not a combat veteran, but for those of us who are combat veterans, we're accustomed to fighting people who shoot back. Many police officers aren't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So when you do find a veteran who says, particularly a combat veteran who goes, I'm tired, I'm going to go do something, that becomes nasty. And cops know that. And governments know that. And they don't want that. I don't want that. Nobody wants that. The last thing I want is dead law enforcement. My father was in law enforcement. I don't want dead law enforcement. I want happily policed communities being policed the way they want to be policed. Now, when I talk about guns, and I do talk about guns in the war on drugs, believe it or not, in the video, I ask a question, and I say, and this is New York City, Columbia University, New York City. I say, hey, who here owns a gun? And when I do it in New York City, almost no one raises their hand, because very few people own firearms in New York City. Very few. Less than 0.5%. Very few own guns in New York City. So almost no hands go up. I go, you all own guns. And they go, what? Every one of you. I said, you just let the cops hold them. Your taxpayer dollars bought the guns, and the cops hold them. And when you have a problem, you call the cops and your guns come. You call your guns when you need them, but you have them. You just let other people hold them. So I have a problem. Oh, police come, and the guns come. Hi, we're here. Brought your guns. That's what happens. And when I tell people, they go, oh, I go, yeah, we all use guns. We all have guns. You've just decided that the only people who can have them are people with a badge and a uniform. But we all need guns, and we all have guns. My question is, what makes them so special?
Yes.
And then I go one step forward. I'll do this next piece. I'll say, okay, if you were in your home and you live close to New York City, we live very close to each other, right? We don't often see each other, very common, right? And you see through your neighbor's window that some guy is smoking, he's smoking some weed. Do you think, and this, I'm asking your personal opinion, not legally, not law, ethically, in your own opinion, do you think it is morally okay, ethically okay, for you to kick that door in, grab that cigarette from his mouth, that joint from his mouth, shove him in a cage? Do you think that's legal? Moral? No, it's horrible. Great. Why can cops do it?
Yep.
If you can't do it, why can cops do it? Aren't cops simply an extension of us? They're an extension of our society. We've allowed these people, through hopefully training and hopefully through some legal aspect, to enforce laws that we would, in theory, enforce ourselves if we didn't have them, right? So they're an extension of us. If we can't do it, why can they? Now, ask second question. If you looked in a window and you saw a guy with a knife ready to stab a baby, do you think it is morally, ethically correct for you to kick that door in, grab that guy, pull the knife out, kick that guy in the face? They go, yeah. Yes, that's what cops should be doing. Correct. Yes, absolutely. I hope they do that every day. I hope they kick in doors of people trying to hurt people, kill them, rape, murder. I hope cops do it every day, because that's what I would think would be ethically or morally okay to do. And when you think about policing in that way, it changes people's minds.
Yeah. I've got a lot of family in law enforcement, and obviously love them and respect them and da-da-da-da.
Absolutely.
But you also sort of, specifically with what you guys are going through at the moment, when
it's terrible. Because we've spent so much time not fixing the war on drugs, now we again have a massive breach. We have the right that just worships every cop. Cops never do anything wrong. Cops are perfect and wonderful. And the left, who says every cop is horrible and a racist and ready to kill people. Neither is true. Cops, again, are human beings in a crappy system, trying to do the best they can do, and a system that encourages racists to be monsters. Yeah. So obviously there are racists in everything. There are racist truck drivers. There are racist, business people. There are racists in every. Of course there are. They exist, but they're nowhere near the amount that we would make them think. Nowhere near. And in a bad system, the racist is able to explode and become a monster in a bad system. In a good system, that individual racist either leaves the system by self-selecting or can't be that bad because the system is a good system. Right. So now we encourage a reason that for other people who aren't racist to be apathetic, to just watch it happen. That's how bad our system is. Cops aren't bad. The system is garbage. It's a horrible system.
I think most governmental systems are broken, and the ones that aren't are well on their way to getting there. The George Floyd stuff, mate, and what went on there, did that sort of, obviously I'm sure it's affected you, but the Black Lives Matter stuff, what's your take on all of it? Because
it goes back to what I said, right? Everything has become left-right.
Yeah.
The concept, and I would be the difference between concept and the organization. The concept of Black Lives Matters is a wonderful concept. The idea that, hey, let's try to make, the example of someone gave, I forgot where I saw this was, okay, if my arm is broken and I go to my doctor and my arm is broken and my doctor says, well, all bones matter. Well, I know all the bones matter, but right now this one's
the one that's broken.
So let's fix this one now, and then let's care about all of them, but let's fix this one now. And so there's a problem in the Black community. So Black Lives Matter, the concept's a wonderful concept. The problem is, of course, what happens in our country is everything's left-right.
Yeah.
So now the Black Lives movement has been basically compromised by a far left movement. Yeah. And the idea and concept that is a good concept has now basically become a very far left, has been co-opted by the far left, which can be difficult, because now anyone who's in the middle starts to worry. Wait a minute, am I doing the right thing or not? Anyone who's on the right goes, oh, it's terrible, it's bad, it's evil, and they're all Marxists and terrible. So, and now what winds up happening is the movement, the concept, which is great, gets tainted and worried, and now people pick sides. And now the defund police thing comes up. We're going to defund all the police. How are you going to defund police with no plan? What's going to replace it? right? One thing we have to remember is what government always is two things. And we as libertarians have to get this in our heads, and we don't. One, it's a monopoly. Two, it's a jobs program. Always, those two things are true. So when it's a monopoly, if you remove it, there's nothing there. It's a monopoly.
Yep.
Which is why, if you notice, all my plans and policies never talk about removing government. They always talk about adding another option so that government either gets better or goes away.
Yep.
Government self-selects. I don't force it out. It goes out on its own, which is what I want, right? I want
no longer necessary.
Bingo. Whenever you remove government, you have to either add community or add commerce.
Yes.
If you can't add community or add commerce, your plan is going to fail.
Yep.
So even with the police, you're going to defund the police? Okay, how? Okay, tell me what?
What alternative
Nothing.
will work?
It's I'm mad at cops, so get rid of them. That's a really bad idea. That's a really bad idea, right? But you tell me you have a plan for it? Okay, I'm listening. Maybe there's a way, right? When I hear defund government, my ears open up, right? But I got to have a plan for this. It can't be, I'm mad, they got to go. What defund the police has become is let's punish cops. That's the wrong answer.
Yeah.
It's got to be let's change. I did a video on this. If anybody wants to go to my Sharpe Way YouTube page. And I did a video on how to reset the police. And it's a plan to reset the police because what's happened often in the police forces is the police do too much, particularly in America, right? Yeah. We call cops for anything. It could be whether it's a mental issue, a homeless issue, a domestic dispute, a robbery or a rape. No, we should be calling cops for robbery and rape.
Yep.
That's what we should be calling cops for, right? Domestic dispute, different set of police.
Yeah.
Different set, right? Homeless guy or gal, different phone call.
Yeah.
So let's reset police so that law enforcement is broken up. I have it broken up into 4 different areas. That's one of my policies also is resetting the police in 4 different areas. And not just that, so you can now rotate cops through. Because the problem is, while the police job isn't that dangerous of a job in reality, it is a horribly stressful and difficult job. Equivalent, I think, in many ways to veterans who spend time overseas in combat zones.
Yeah.
And what do you do in a combat zone? You rotate the soldier or Marine out. You rotate them out. So with a 4-piece resetting the police force, now cops who are in what I call active policing can move over for a year and do a year of writing tickets, which I call quality of life. Do a year, write some tickets, man. You've been in the garbage for a year and a half. You're a human being. It's going to affect you. You're in a combat zone. Pull you out. Go write some tickets for like a year and then come back again, right? Or go do social work for a year and now come back, right? Let's rotate you through this stuff. So that
rethink the way they're doing it.
Absolutely. Again, cops aren't bad. The system's bad.
Yeah.
Let's fix the system.
Look, I think 100%. And look, and Australia's got this habit where we copy just about everything you guys do over there. So we've had our own Black Lives Matter thing have all raised to the forefront, and now all of our police are the worst ever. And it's like this, guys, this is getting really silly now. We don't need to copy absolutely everything the Americans do. Yes, that we have issues as well.
Yep.
And yes, we could tackle them far better than what we have been. And, we need to look at that, but that's where we need to hold our politicians accountable and create new systems and new ideas and make sure that they're hearing us. And we really struggle, not just us, but, Black Lives Matter people and people who take this.
Frustration, I do. And again, I'm sorry, I'm pumping my stuff a lot, but if you want to go to my Sharpe Way, I did a special on June 10th. JUNETEENTH, Juneteenth special. And it talks about how humans actually aren't that racist. Yep. Humans are tribal, but we create tribes on anything, not race. We can create on where you're born, where you live, what football team you like. I mean, we create tribes on anything, right? But to be racist, it takes the state. It takes the government to do that. Yep. And I show how through American history, the difference between the Black population, right? I'm a descendant of slaves, right? So the difference between descendants of slaves versus other immigrants is one major thing that people never talk about. 150 years of state-sponsored violence. That didn't happen against Irish immigrants or Italian immigrants or Jewish immigrants or Chinese immigrants. That happened against two types of people: the Native Americans, state-sponsored violence, and African Americans. That's it. So while every other group had to get over hurdles, and they did, African Americans and Native Americans had to get past different ones, which was state-sponsored violence.
Yeah.
You look at American history, you look at our segregation in the South, and people say, well, the people in the South are racist, they're terrible. Okay, if that's true, why was there a need for the laws? If the people in the South were so racist, well, then why did you have to have laws to segregate?
It would have
they would have done it naturally because they're so racist by default. They're not. And how do I know that? Because you look at, since the laws have been removed, the South is actually more integrated than the North is now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
On a day
One of the most segregated cities in the world, New York City.
Yeah, okay.
It's because of red line laws on who can get mortgages and who can't. Government laws on mortgages, government laws on residential, government laws on adoption. I'm adopted. I was adopted in the 60s. In the 60s in New York, because I'm biracial, I couldn't be adopted by a white family.
Ah, right. Okay.
New York State. Not Alabama.
Yeah.
New York State.
Yeah.
It's
See, our Aboriginal Native Australians have had similar issues. They had whole generations removed from families, and currently there are still some Aboriginal activists that would argue that in some circumstances that they should be, but because of the history of it, they don't want to remove kids from violent homes now, because there was a stolen generation that was really inappropriate, but now they don't want to do it because they don't want to be seen as racist. And you just go, this is just all madness. You know, if a child's being violated, come out. It's just crazy stuff. Everything the government touched, they managed to
screw it up.
They're just fantastic at it. Mate, obviously you've been brilliant with your time. There's probably one or two more little topics I'd just love to touch on. One, your pro-life, pro-choice stance. And I mean, in the libertarian community, it's probably one of the most controversial or one of the most debated issues, because I suppose from a policy perspective, we go, but choice, but then, but whose choice? But then, It's a really complicated one. And I sort of go, well, depending on the circumstances and the X, Y, and Z. And I've got a friend of mine she's trying to put together a documentary. Actually, she's very pro-life, and she's working on it over here. And she's very passionate about it, of course. So she and I discuss it all the time, and a lot of her audience and friends and things are very pro-life. I'm sort of sitting that libertarian fence where, well, in certain circumstances it makes sense. Mate, how do you tackle such a topic, and how do you tackle it with? It's hard to tackle it with compassion, and still sort of go, but this is why it's okay, or like it's a really funny line to draw when you're in this space. How do you tackle that one?
No, I get it. I'm getting some feedback. Are you getting that?
Not yet. No.
Okay, good. So, yes. How do I tackle that? I personally, the party is pro-choice, right? That's the party. There are many individuals within the party who are not pro-choice. I'm going to guess about 20%. That's a guess. Who about pro-life, and are passionate about pro-life as passionate as people are about pro-choice. I am personally, and I mean it's only personally, I'm pro-life. I don't like abortion. I wish it would go away. But I have a libertarian problem and a realistic problem, and that is, one, the government should not be deciding who lives and who dies. Period. Should not be deciding it at all. Should not be deciding who lives and who dies. The government should not be putting its hands on a woman or stopping her from deciding what she does with her life. But more importantly, government cannot and will not stop abortion. It can't. It's impossible. We just talk about it's bad at everything. So what winds up actually happening is, if you ban abortion, you wind up punishing poor women. That's what actually happens in reality, right? And the Irish will tell you that. The Italians will tell you that. Those people who've had ban abortions see that the poor women either, generally speaking, go get unsafe abortions, and the wealthy women go to countries and places where you can get it, and they get safe abortions. So in reality, you can't ban abortion. All you can ban is safe abortion. That's all you can ban. You can't ban abortion. It's impossible. It doesn't work, right? So why would I do that? What do I want? Right now in America, you have people who simply call themselves pro-life and do nothing. Nothing. They go, I'm pro-life, and they're done. And they use it as a wedge issue to decide if you're morally correct or not. And you have to vote for me because I've said I'm pro-life. I've done nothing. In fact, I had my girlfriend, who I was hiding from my wife, have an abortion. But I yelled that I'm pro-life, so you have to vote for me. I'm not joking. That actually happens in my country. The politician's girlfriend, he forced her to have an abortion when he has a wife because he's hiding her. And he says, I'm pro-life, and people vote for him because he says he's pro-life. I say, I don't want abortion to be illegal. I want it to be obsolete. I want to create an environment to where women choose to not have abortion. What is the safest way and smartest way to end abortion? To have women not choose it. If women choose to not have abortions, abortions go away. That's a smart way of getting rid of abortions. Have women not choose that. How do we do that? Number one, making adoption easier. Number one. Now, that's not going to end abortion, but that chips away at it.
Yep.
Easier, more common, open to culture. Second, make surrogacy legal. Make surrogacy easy. There, in many cases where a young woman is pregnant, one of the biggest reasons why she won't have that baby, there are many, but one of them is going to be, I can't afford to raise it. That's one of the reasons and one of the things in her head, right? Obviously, for many women, not all, but for many. Okay, great. There are families throughout America, throughout New York State, who will happily pay all your bills, take your baby and raise it. Take your baby. Happily do it without thinking twice. Happily spend all the money to do that. Well, let's make that easier. Let's let that be an option for you. Some women won't choose abortion. Some still will, but some won't. Not just that. Why aren't we making contraception over the counter in America? Not true. Need a prescription. Over the counter.
Is that for all contraception or just some?
For women. Men, of course, get whatever they want. Because we're totally, in that regard, we're totally sexist. So they get whatever they want. But women have to go through it. So just make it over the counter. Let a woman buy if she wants to. No worries. Again, will that stop all abortion? No. Will it put a dent in it? Yes. What I promise everybody who will vote for me is I will never pass a law that will force women to be touched by the government in any way, shape, or form. Never. And I will absolutely have less abortions, but it will be voluntary. I will change the environment so that there will be less abortions, because I'm still not done. I also want to, if we think about all the time, money, and energy that we put into trying to fight in our country, Roe versus Wade, that made abortion basically legal, instead of doing that, and instead put into something, say, I don't know, artificial wombs, to where now if a woman wants an abortion, they can pull her fetus out and put it into an artificial womb and still grow the baby. Then why do you have an abortion?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right. You're literally making abortion obsolete.
Yeah.
I want to work into making a world and an environment. And if you notice my policies, they're always about changing culture. They're always about changing environment, changing a system to be better, because people usually do the right thing. Some will always do the bad thing. I can't stop those. But the vast majority of people will do the right thing if you give them an environment to where that's shown as a good thing, positive culture, and that happens again and again and again. So I want to create an environment to women will simply not choose to have abortions. We do that, we have a better world. And in reality, people who actually care and don't just want to be righteous, they're all going to be happy. There are some people who want to be righteous and just want to go, we've got to pass a law because I want to feel righteous. Those people I'm never going to make happy, and they're never going to vote for me. But if you actually care about the issue itself, there's no better candidate than me.
Yeah, yeah. Now, all right, I'm gonna love sharing that with Dia. She's gonna really, I think, admire that tactic. She and I have discussed it over and over again, and I keep going, it's not. Oh, gee, I've always struggled to articulate it really well. I've made some crass jokes about, I think I can think of heaps of people we should be aborting, but people go, you can't joke about these things, and I go, oh, we can joke about anything. It just depends on how you take it and whether you've got a sense of humour or whether or not it's just a bit of a snide joke. But no, I really appreciate that interpretation. I think that's fantastic. So I guess last, before I let you get back to your weekend, and I really appreciate you coming on here, this cancel culture, this culture war, this how do you think we should all be moving forward? What's your big final push, your big pitch? How is it that we can make the world a better place from our freedom-loving perspective? What do we need to do?
You threw a lot at me at the end there. All right. Let me touch the cancel culture piece. Cancel culture also doesn't work. And the problem why it doesn't work is what you're finding people do now is go behind paywalls. So all you're doing is you're just, if you don't like that someone said a racist joke or someone said a sexist joke, whatever the case may be, you're actually not canceling them. What you're doing is you're now putting them behind a paywall so that now no one else hears them except for the people who want to hear that stuff, which is not by the market a bad thing, but culturally it is, because now we're ensuring that those people will never hear another idea other than that line of ideas. We're making our media even more fractured. So the cancel culture people think we're winning. You're not. Right. I remember when we had, do you remember Charlottesville that happened in America here? When everyone said the white nationalists are coming out, Nazis and blah, blah, blah. And the governor was a guy named McAuliffe out of Virginia. He's an idiot and an ideologue. And he said, his answer was, my answer to these Nazis is go home. They're Americans. Go home to what? Your next door neighbor. Their kids go to school with your kids. Go home? These aren't, I don't know, Russian communists or German Nazis. They're Americans. They're coming right back to your house. Go home. How stupid are you? Right? I don't want to fight the left or fight the right or fight the Nazis or fight the fascists or fight the communists. I want to turn them. They're all Americans. I want to bring them to me. I can't turn you if I can't talk to you. I got to talk to you. If I think I'm winning because the guy's not on whatever YouTube, great. Now he's on, I don't know.
BitChutes and Parlors, and
there we go. He's behind some paywall, and his ideas are still being said, but now with nothing except for an echo chamber, and he's creating more radical people. You're not winning. I know it feels good, but it's not working. You want it to work, you got to talk to the guy. You let his ideas be out there so people can go, oh, that's a bad idea. The problem is that takes time.
Yeah,
that's the problem. That's not a quick fix. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good letting the ideas out, and eventually in the light of day, people go, oh, all that stuff I believed for 3 years, that was garbage. Huh. No one wants to wait 3 years. But if you want to really destroy it, it's going to take years. It's a long-term solution. So cancel culture, while it feels good, actually doesn't work. It just makes things worse. And here's where I'll say it. We're going to fight the Nazis. We fought a war against the Nazis about 75 years ago. Americans lost about 500,000 people doing it, dropped tons of bombs, occupied a country for like 50 years. Guess what we still have? Nazis in our own country. It didn't work. Didn't work. Dropped tons of bombs, lost 500,000 Americans, occupied a country, dropped billions of dollars, and what do we still have? Nazis. Didn't work. Violence doesn't work against that. Doesn't work. You have to get people to believe it's not the right way. And that takes time, lots of time. And a hero I have, you may not know who he is. He's an American hero of mine. His name is Daryl Davis. Daryl Davis is actually a musician.
Is he the guy who goes to the Ku Klux Klan meetings?
Bingo!
I have heard of him.
Yes.
I have heard of him. I'd love to get hold of him to come on and talk to him about that on here. I reckon he'd be brilliant.
He's amazing. I love him. Imagine if America had 100,000 of him. We'd have a different nation in 10 years. There would be no need for cancel culture because we'd all be talking to each other. And that's the most important piece.
Yeah. No, I've seen his videos and I've looked at him. I've gone, I wonder how I get in contact with that guy, because he seems really, one, interesting, two, courageous.
Yes.
And three, he's actually doing something active, which is, 1 million people can talk in echo chambers online. We can all have computer wars and call each other names on Facebook and all this sort of business. He's actually going out physically, meeting what is essentially, on paper, his enemy. And he's engaging in dialogue with him. I think it's brilliant. And it's just,
Abraham Lincoln said it. He said, if I turn my enemy into my friend, haven't I destroyed my enemy? Yeah. 100%. So my whole view about everything is more talk, more conversation. You will hear me say constantly when it comes to liberty movement, stop winning arguments. I don't care. Stop having debates. I don't care. I want you to have conversation over conversation over conversation. I want hundreds of if you're in a liberty movement and you're listening to this and you care about the liberty movement at all, conversation, 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 conversation. When you win an argument, you've lost a friend. When you win a debate, you've lost a friend. If I want to win elections, you don't win elections by winning arguments. You win elections by winning hearts and minds. You win hearts and minds by having conversations. Every debate, every argument is a winner and a loser. Every conversation, there's no losers.
Just dialogue.
Just dialogue. Talk, 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 talk. That's my response. That's how we save it.
Oh, brilliant. What an absolute brilliant concept. Larry Sharpe, I'm honoured to have you on here. Hopefully all my guests will look into your work because I found it brilliant. That's why I've been sort of following you and watching you, and I hit you up in a public forum there and went, hey, would you come on board? And you were gracious enough to come on Resolute TV, which is this little fledgling project in the Liberty movement. So we're really honoured to have you here.
Head over to the Sharpe Way. The Sharpe Way.
Get onto
the Sharpe Way Twitter, the Sharpe Way YouTube, the Sharpe Way Instagram, the Sharpe Way Facebook. It's on everything. Sharpe Way.
Sharpe Way, and we're going to have all the links in the description because I'm going to make Dia do that because she's good at that stuff. And
love it. Don't forget, it's Sharpe with an E, and the E stands for entertaining.
Entertaining. Excellent. So thank you very much, Larry. Look, I'll let you back to your weekend. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honour to speak with you. Keep up the good fight. If there's any way our little Australian camp can, lend a hand in any way, shape or form, we'd be more than happy to contribute as much as possible. And thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate your time. And let's make sure we get stuck into Garry Stewart here tonight, guys. Excuse the accent. I can't do much about it. He doesn't have the beautiful Australian bogan accent like myself. He's got the bogan Scottish accent. Garry Stewart, take it away.
Well, it's actually weird. For the 20th anniversary of Braveheart, we get invited over to Trim in Southern Ireland. And the actual castle in Trim, when you watch Braveheart, when Wallace goes down to York and invades York Castle, or tries to take York Castle, which obviously didn't happen. But the castle in York it's actually Trim Castle. So for the 20th anniversary of Braveheart, we get invited over as a society. There was 5 actors were there as well. Mel Gibson did a little appearance on video as well. And we got the ferry over from Scotland to go over to Ireland. We've got all this armoury I've just showed you, plus a heck of a lot more than that in the back of the car. Obviously covered up, obviously. And we're going through, get stopping on the ferry. And the guy's going, he said, and you've got your car, which might be classed as pointy things or, drugs or whatever. And Stuart, who's driving the car, is looking at me going, if he looks in the back of the car, Gary, we're absolutely snookered here. Fortunately, he didn't look in the back of the car, mate. So we got the ferry, so it was all good. But if you'd looked in the back of the car and they went, I thought you said you didn't have any pointy things in the back of your car, mate. You could be 20 sorts there. And we went over there. Again, met people that you'd never have met under normal circumstances through Wallace. And I find that the experience that I've had with William Wallace throughout, obviously I've been involved with Scottish history since I was 12, but throughout the Scotland with the football team, like following abroad, you end up meeting guys you would never meet at all. I've met, through the society, through William Wallace as a person, I've met wonderful people, Dean, that I would never have met if it wasn't for William Wallace or the name of William Wallace. And we're talking about a guy that died 700 odd years ago. I'm meeting friends through him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That to me,
It's crazy.
I'm sitting speaking to a guy called Dean in Australia on a Sunday morning because of William Wallace. Really, if you think about it, we've got one of my a classic guy has been a really good friend now. He stays in Liechtenstein, and he's come over to Scotland a few times. Patrick's a wonderful guy, a lovely family, and he comes over.
Which Liechtenstein's actually
Wallace.
Liechtenstein's a really interesting. It's just interesting that you've got a guy from Liechtenstein involved, because that's probably classed as one of the most libertarian style countries on planet Earth. The way they've set it all up. It's just a little bit of irony there, like quite often in my research for things when I'm trying to work out ways to make the world work better, Liechtenstein's model often comes up, and you go, what a fantastic way to run a little country, It's really amazing. The whole thing's fantastic. Now, in your research, have you worked out what football team William Wallace would have supported? Because I think that's a very important question.
Oh, calm down. I'm not getting involved. Well, I'm a Clyde fan, so you might need to Google that to see where Clyde are, by the way. We're not one of the top teams for it that way, Dean. I would imagine he would have supported a team like Clyde, where you're not. I mean, I don't even get involved with Celtic or Rangers. There's too much baggage, either side between Catholic and Protestant in history, and I just can't be bothered with that. To me, it's a football team, and I support the team. I can't be bothered with the rest of it. So I would imagine he'd probably go down one of those routes, like a little small team supporting its local community, rather than I'll support a big team because they win things, and because he's involved or he's involved. So I would imagine probably go down that route and try and stay neutral wise. I think probably along the lines. I find that. Even in Glasgow, you get what team do you support? Clyde. Yeah, but what team do you really support? Clyde. Yeah, but if Celtic and Rangers are playing each other, who do you want to win? I don't care, mate. I don't like any of the two of you. I generally don't care. But it's just that mentality that you must like one or the other, where I generally don't. So, I think he would. I think he would be. Sometimes on Facebook you get things. If you could meet somebody that died, who would you like to meet? I'd love to meet William Wallace. Love to, get into his head. What drove him? What kept him going? Because obviously he must have had some horrendous times. What his thought process was. Yeah, I think. Plus the fact, from my point of view, there's a lot of Wallace we can't prove. There's a lot of stuff that we'll do that you can go, legend states this, legend states that, legend states that, because we can't 100% prove it. So it'd be lovely. It'd be great to speak to William Wallace. I'll get my wee book out, son. You keep talking. Did the Battle of Leiden Hill really happen? And I'm writing now, William. You keep talking. And then you could go back to real life and go, well, by the way, boys, you've got that bit wrong. This happened, and this happened. The Battle of Stirling, the reason he won that was because he did this, and this. What we studied is all garbage. As you're saying, the history's recorded by the winners. Yeah, what they put is a lot of rubbish. This is what really happened, and it would be great to be able to know. And I love Wallace, as you know. Sometimes it can be frustrating because you can't 100% prove certain things, and especially if you're speaking to an 8-year-old kid at school or someone, he's like, "Did this happen?" You're going, "I don't know." But this is what led to. I'd love to be able to say to an 8-year-old, that definitely happened, son. William definitely did that. He definitely did this. Because we try and within the society. I'm quite lucky. The society. I've got involved with historians that I'm very friendly with. If there's anything that I'm not 100% too sure in, I'll make a phone call. I'll phone my friend, it's a historian, and say, listen, what about this? What about that? What do you reckon? I I won't just go, I don't really know, but I'll make it up. You know what I mean? We like to try and study as much as what we can do to get the actual, as close to the facts that we can possibly get to, which can be difficult in fairness.
Oh, of course, these things happen so far back. I mean, we've all got to take, I suppose, a little bit of a grain of salt with each myth, each legend, each story, and look, and that's part of the romance of the whole thing too. You know, like, I mean, do we have any proof whether or not there was a woman that inspired him? Is that what truly kicked the whole game off, or was he just a?
Yeah, the Marion Braidfoot thing, which is Murray in Braveheart, that's a real name. Yeah, there's a strong possibility that that's true, but again, Dean, I can't prove that. You know, that's the problem. You know, there's a Marion Braidfoot in history. She was around about that particular area. You know, so again, we try and go down. What's the word I'm looking for here? We try to go down and go, right, we've got a story here. Okay, we've heard this, and then we'll try and break things down and go, well, okay, that, you know, like a jigsaw, I think is probably the best bit. You know, and then go, yeah, that fits in there. Yeah, this part happened. Yeah, we've got this, a wee bit of history there which states that. You've got another wee bit of history which states that, and try and put it together as close to facts as possible. I mean, one of the historians that I know very well will say, and I know she spoke to Davey about this at all because I was there at the time. She says it to me all the time. I would like to be a little bit more like you, because she's an academic historian, all right? So she needs it to be 100% right before she can go, that happened. Whereas you can go, I've got 4.5 here out of 5. Yeah, we'll go with that. Legend, because we're pretty close to it. But from a historical, you know, from an academic historian point of view, they can't do that because obviously the reputation's on the line, which I appreciate, and they've got to have it 100% accurate before they can go, that definitely happened. So it does make it more. But you're right. The romantic side of things, the romance side of things, probably gives you a little bit more leeway. And I think it's really weird. I don't know. And the one thing I liked about Braveheart, actually, do you know the bit when he's in the tent with the Queen, and there's an English guy, and he comes in and he starts speaking, I think it's either in Latin or French, and Wallace replies back. And the English guy goes, "Oh, hold on a sec. Oh, that's scary. Never knew you could speak Latin." That's true.
You're supposed to be a Scottish savage.
Yeah, precisely. You know, Wallace was educated by the monks in Paisley, that he could speak that. So for everything that everybody talks about the film being a lot of rubbish, and the Queen wasn't there at the time. The Queen was about 8 in real life. But that bit, I quite liked that bit because it got it in that actually this guy's not a Highland like Ned's. I mean, he's actually an educated guy here, you know. And I think it's funny where, you know, as we were saying before, where people knock it saying historically it's not right, but nobody actually picks up on that part and go, well, actually, that part's really good because that actually shows that William Wallace wasn't a silly man. You know, he was an educated person. And, you know, I think that's the bit I like. That's the one bit in the film that I do like. The freedom bit, he obviously fought for that. He obviously didn't say that, obviously. But I still cry at the end of Braveheart, mate. I'm not shy to admit that. I still cry at the end of it. And it's weird. There's one of my friends called Tommy the Tank. Don't ask what his surname is. I don't know. I've just known him for 20 years. He's just Tommy the Tank, mate. No idea what his last name is. We just call him the Tank. And the bit in the film where Wallace's dad dies, and the wee girl comes up, which is Mary Calvin, and gives him the little sort of little bit of cloth. Tommy always cries at that part. Always cries at that part. Aye, and I always cry at the end. And it's weird if we watch it together. You can sit and watch it. You go, here's the wee bit. Look at Tommy. He's going to start greeting. Look, there we go. And then he'll get to the end and it'll be, look at Garry. Look at that. He's going to have tears coming down his ear. Look, there you go. Told you. And I think it's the thing with Braveheart, and no matter whether you're Scottish or whether you're not, and when we went to Trim in Ireland, we watched it on an outdoor cinema with Trim Castle behind you, which was surreal. It was actually quite, you look at the castle, but there's a castle right behind you. And there was 950 people there watching this film who were all Irish because it was in Ireland. And see the amount of adrenaline that's coming from them. They're not even Scottish. And they were getting right involved and winning battles. They're all cheering and whatever else. But at the end, they're sort of, oh, God, whatever. So it just goes to show that the film captures not just for Scottish people. I think worldwide, and I think people worldwide see a bit of their own country in what Wallace is doing, and I think that's what makes the film so good. And the one thing with all the people I've met, Dean, right, I am not into, I know Joe blogs, or I've met him, or I've met her, or I know this famous person. I'm not really that type of person, to be honest with you, right? But we're in Trim, and there's an Irish person sitting right beside me. The society guys are there. Mel Gibson comes on the screen, right, and says, I'd like to say thank you to the society boys for coming over to Glasgow. And I just nudged the wee person and went, by the way, Big Mel's talking about us. See, that's us he's talking about. Big man, Big Mel Gibson talking about me and the boys sitting beside you. I have never done that before in my life, mate. Never done that. I felt quite good, actually. It was quite funny. The lassie gave me a wee cuddle and everything, so it was quite good. But I think Australia's got your guys, and I think with the struggles that Australia's had and things like that, I think there's a lot of William Wallace within a lot of your sort of heroes that you've got there. And as I said, I think that's why the film sort of is a worldwide film, because everybody can see a bit of their own hero or their own countryman in what William Wallace did. And I think that's why the film's so good.
We have a lot of Australians, obviously, that have a lot of Scottish, British, Irish background. I mean, obviously that's naturally how Australia came about. And I mean, in a lot of ways, then I suppose the Ned Kelly story is probably the closest thing we have to a William Wallace story. He wasn't quite as successful in his battles overthrowing governments, but the story of William Wallace does definitely resonate around the world. And I think the movie Braveheart's obviously a great lead in for that. With the society, are there any books or any particular reading materials you'd recommend anybody checks out that you guys really stand behind that we should be directing people to?
Yeah, I would say Nigel Tranter is massive. If you want to read it, he does a book on the Wallace. Tremendous book to buy. Historical wise, it's there. Davy R. Ross's books are good. Dr. Flora Watson books are good, and as much as Fiona will probably kill me, they're heavy. They are a typical historian's heavy book. Fantastic read if you're into that. But Nigel Tranter's books are more a bit like Davy's. It's more a story, so it makes it easier. You're getting the history, but it's more done in a story way, so it does make it easy. So I would say Nigel Tranter and Davy R. Ross's. Davy R. Ross's books at the start, because they're dead easy, and Davy's books are only about that. They're not. It's not a thick book, so Davy's probably to start off with to get you involved in it, and then Nigel Tranter's books are about that thick. But a fantastic read though. That's the books that I would say John Pebbles, but that's more like a Jacobite eerie that he probably does, Rob Roy. But English as well, the boys English as well, tremendous writer, historical wise, very accurate as well. His book on Glencoe, The Darien Affair, is really, really good, it's educational. And I think I'll talk about Australia, right, for a wee quick second, right, because I'm Scottish, right? I am not supposed to like cricket, right? We're Scottish. We don't like cricket, mate. Right? I do. I love cricket. Mental. And as I was saying to you before, with your Scottish, your anti-English, and all the rest of it. And one of the guys, there's a Tartan Army like forum that we were on, and there's an English guy on it called Longshanks. His name is Longshanks on the Tartan Army mess. Well, very good, mate. And we were talking about the cricket, whatever. They come up to the Ashes, and I'm going, I hope Australia thump England. I hope they get right into them. And whatever. He went, typical Scottish, anti-English. Typical. You just want Australia to win because you don't like the English, right? And I'm going, well, actually, mate, I get brought up with Australian cricket when I watch cricket. I get brought up with Rodney Marsh, Alan Border. Did you know Alan Border changed the way Test cricket was played? Usually you would do 1 over, 2 over. Alan Border then went, just sort this. Let's try and do 3 and 4 and over. Made Test cricket more interesting, and started naming all these guys' names, right? And the guy came back and went, right, all right, you actually know your bit about Australian cricket, right? Hey, brother, you want Australia to win, Gary? Right, I'm happy with that, son. So it's not an anti-English thing. Went, no, it's not, mate. I'm just into Australian cricket. And it was quite funny. And he was a really good guy. And it's really weird, right? Because on the Tartan Army message board we were doing the Walk for Wallace in London. And he said, well, I'm in London, Gary. I'd like to come and see you. It'd be quite good to catch. I mean, the guy was a genuine guy. We had good banter. The guy was a nice guy. I said, look, we're going to be in this pub. You come in and we'll meet up there. And he went, right, okay, that's okay, Gary. We'll definitely do that. How will you know who I am? I went, you're all right, mate. Just shout out, I'm Longshanks. And he went, are you off your head? I'm going to a party for the anniversary of the murder of William Wallace by Longshanks, and you want me to come in with a pub, you all get weapons, and you want me to stand up and go, I'm Longshanks? And I went, aye, that's a good shot. That's probably not the greatest idea in the world, mate.
Yeah, that could end poorly. That could end poorly.
It's funny. And it's funny. I know him on Facebook now. I know his real name now, not Longshanks, and I'm still in contact with the guy. And again, we've met through our love of history and Wallace, whatever else. So, I can't think of anybody else in the world. And yeah, I know I'm probably slightly biased because I'm Scottish, that brings that passion out. Not just in Scotland, but across the world. I think that's what makes him such a special guy. And it's a privilege for me to be in charge of the society, to oversee what a lot of the guys within the society, it's not just me, there's loads of guys there that get involved and put their work into what they do. It's just a privilege to watch and see. And, when we do get, some monuments done, or you educate a little kid at 8, or you walk out a pub one day and you've spoken about the history of Wallace, and somebody else has now got to learn a little bit more about the true story. Yeah, I got a little wee glowing inside me and going, yeah, we're keeping the story going, and in 200, 300 years time, people will be doing things through the society and still keeping the name of William Wallace going. And that's something I'm proud of, to be honest with you.
As well you should be. So, mate, how do people become members of the society, or how do they support the society? What's involved? Obviously, there are people in Australia who probably don't know that it exists.
Yeah, if you go on to the Society of William Wallace website, which is sow.scot. So Society William Wallace, so sow.scot. If you click onto that, go into the membership side, it shows you how you can join. Anybody can join from around the world. You've also got to bear in mind, and I think it's important that people realise, is that if you join the society, the money that goes into the pot, which is a sort of membership, if you then see us putting a plaque up, or you see us building a monument, and we're trying to build a monument in Port Glasgow at the moment, your £10 when you've joined will be part of that. So if you look at if you join now, And then you look at the Port Glasgow monument when it eventually gets built, which hopefully will be within the next year to 2 years. Anybody that's joined the society can look at that and go, I helped that. I paid money to that. Do you know what I mean? So it then gives the members a sense of you're part of what we do. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's the important thing. You can look at I'm sure there's guys that are members now can look at the Bill of the Bray monument in Glasgow, and they can maybe go to their sons or their kids in 20 years' time and go, I helped fund that. Yeah. If it wasn't for me putting my 10 quid to the society, that might not have been built. So it means that everybody's, and with Wallace Day, this year we're, as I said right at the start before we went on there, I'm not a techie guy. So I had a conference call yesterday with a techie guy. And obviously with COVID being the way it is this year, we obviously can't do what we would normally do for Wallace Day. So we're looking to try and do a virtual Wallace Day, which I think is going to go on YouTube. Once I find out more and it's all set up, we'll put it on on the Society Facebook page, which anybody can join. And then the Society's doing comes on there as well. And so we'll have that there. So it means that if you're in Australia, if you're in Argentina, you don't need to be in Glasgow or necessarily need to be in Scotland to be part of Wallace Day. You can actually watch it. Or you can record it if it's, obviously with Australia, there is the time difference that we've got there. But you can record it or you can go back in and watch it and you can feel part of it. And what we're looking to do, if this goes well, Dean, what we're looking to do next year, if COVID calms down and we can go back to doing what we normally do, is we're looking to do a live stream. So us doing what we'd normally do, but have somebody record it live. So if you're in Argentina or Germany or America or Australia, you can actually watch it and feel part of the events that we're having in Scotland. Because I know when I lived in London for 7 years, you do miss being part of these things. So somebody living in Australia, it's not quite easy, obviously we've got COVID now, which makes things difficult, but it's not exactly cheap. Oh, I'll just fly over to Glasgow for Wallace Day. It's probably costing like £1,000 to do that. People don't have that lying about in the bank and doing nothing. So to get people feeling part, and that's the little bit where I suppose I was slagging technology off where we're lazy through it. But with things like this, I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think we like to look page where, I can put a post out. I put a post out, I think it was the Battle of Stirling Bridge, I think it was, if I can remember correctly. 500,000 people did that. 500,000 people through Facebook. There's no other way that you can do that and get the message out. So I know people slag off Facebook. I don't want to see, I'm away at the toilet, mate, I'll be back in 5 minutes. Like, who cares? I'm not really bothered. Oh, there's my dinner. I don't care. I don't want to see what you're eating for your dinner, mate. It doesn't interest me. But for the Society's point of view, it's massive and works really, really well and gives us a connection worldwide. So the technology side for things like that, Dean's really good. And I think COVID as well, to a certain extent, which is weird, is these types of things we're doing now, I think is more natural now, I suppose. Because before we'd have just went to a meeting, or you'd have phoned somebody, you'd have Skyped it. You probably wouldn't be doing what it is we're doing now. I had a conference call with these guys yesterday. There was 3 or 4 of us on the call. I've never done a conference call in my life. Whereas now, we work now, we're doing it where we're all working from home. Then we have a little team meeting and we all go in, to a wee conference call and everybody sees each other. So technology's got its place and it's good in certain ways. In other ways, I think it makes us lazy. And again, like the TV, years ago, people would read books. You've got Blind Harry, which is the main source of a book, really, that you would get to do with Scottish history. It was Blind Harry that did the story of Wallace. It's an old Scots, very difficult to read, mate. Really, really hard. Very inspirational, but really difficult. A lot of it's probably not true. Probably exaggerated parts in it, but else. That book in Scotland was the second biggest selling book in Scotland forever, only second to the Bible. Bible's number one, and Blind Harry is the second biggest selling book in Scotland. And you've got to look at years ago, word of mouth. So the wee guy would go round the pubs and tell you the stories of William Wallace. You then went into Blind Harry, where books came into effect. People would then write down what actually happened. You then go a little bit further on. Then you've then got the filmmakers doing a story of William Wallace into a film. And it's funny how the technology has moved on to word of mouth, to book, to film, in the 700 years since William Wallace was murdered. How his whole how his story has been told is totally different to what, you know, when like years ago you built monuments to him. You know, this is what you did. You know, things have just changed. I mean, we built monuments or we put plaques up. Not so much that it's there or a well done, guys, you've done this. The Bell of the Bray in Glasgow, most people won't know there was a battle there. They'll see that actual monument now. They'll go and Google Bell of the Bray. So they then now know that there's a battle. People of Glasgow know that William Wallace was in Glasgow. So you know, Braveheart, was William Wallace in Glasgow? Probably wasn't, but he was. And that monument's there to try and educate people or to question people that will go out and then read more into it. The Rutherglen guys in Rutherglen, where we put the two plaques up, most of them don't know that John Monteith agreed to betray William Wallace there. They've got no idea. You've got the Wallace monument where he was captured. Unfortunately, with development, there's houses built all around it, which is, it's a bit sad if I'm honest with you. But out of things negatives comes somebody positive. We were running a commemoration there, which we do every year. And one of the guys in the houses came out. Why are you here? What are you doing? This is the monument, William Wallace. He was captured here, blah, 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 went through the whole story. Do you have a business card? There's my card. I'll keep an eye out on the monument for you. Any problems, I'll phone you. And that guy now knows exactly, whereas before he'd look out as a Celtic cross, I've no idea what it's for. Now he knows what it is. And he's proud that he stays in a house beside a monument to Scotland's greatest heroes, that he actually takes care of that monument out and looks after it. So that, I think, you know, so sometimes you've got to look at negatives in it, but you've got to look at the positives out of the negatives. You know, and that's something positive out of, am I happy the house is built there? No, I'm not. But something good's come out of it, that people aren't going to vandalise it, because the guy will look after it. You know, and he is looking after that monument for us. So we're lucky. Zoe, that runs a church down in London where we put the plaque up, she looks after the monument down at Smithfield where Wallace was murdered. Any issues there, she'll phone me. We'll get it sorted out. So we're fortunate that we've got good people out there that care about Wallace as much as we do. You know, it's not all just, I mean, I know I'm the head and it's me, obviously does these things. And if I'm honest, I'm not really comfortable. This was Davy's do. I used to annoy people behind the scenes, things like this. Davy, this is your job, big man. You're good at the camera stuff. And you know, unfortunately, Davy and Duncan went, so it's something I need to do now. But I'm not something that I'm particularly comfortable doing, Dean. But so people see me. But you've got the guys in the background pedaling away, working away, doing their thing. You know, Shah, one of the guys doing the Wallace Oak project at the moment, which he's probably been on that now for about 3 or 4 years now. Neil and Stuart in that. Nobody will know about that until it's done. But I know the guys are doing it. Do you know what I mean? We've got guys that work, really work. Unfortunately, because it's me, everybody sees my face. But I've got thousands of people behind the scenes, mate, doing what they do, and my hats are off to them, mate. Because I wouldn't, the society wouldn't be the society it is. We wouldn't be able to do what it is we do. To all our members out there putting in your £10 funding. We couldn't do it without use. We can't do it without money. You know, it's all well and good saying, yeah, let's build a monument. You know, guys want paid paid for doing these things.
Yeah.
So without our members, we wouldn't have a society, and if people have not joined and they're curious, get in there, be part of what we do, be part of the joy that we get from some of the things. When the Wallace letter came back, I mean, it's weird. I did an interview. I think it was with the Glasgow Herald, which is a Scottish paper. I did an interview lasted 20 minutes. Dean, if I'm honest, I cried straight the whole 20 minutes. I was so emotional because my friend started it, who was no longer with us. 7 years of extreme hard work to get it back, and to actually look at something that William Wallace actually held. It was just at the end of the conversation, she was crying as well. I think she get caught up with the whole me bit. I'm quite an emotional type of guy, in fairness, so me crying is probably not unusual, to be honest with you, which I'm sure anybody that knows me will tell you that. But she got caught up with, she could understand what it meant, and I think because of that, she got involved in the whole what it was about, and she was crying at the end of the conversation as well. So I just hope with the passion I've got and with what the society do, we transmit that to people that we've got. We don't do this for a laugh. We do this because this is someone, it's a guy that we respect, even though we never met him. But you can respect him for his actions and learn from him. And and go through your life, if you're going through a hard time, maybe it might sound stupid, Dana, I don't know. What would Wallace have done? What would he have done in these circumstances, and maybe become a better person, become a stronger person through it, and get through the hard time that you're going through? I hope I've not talked too much of this, because I know I do talk a lot, so I do apologise.
That was the whole point of inviting you on, mate. So look, ladies and gentlemen, Garry Stewart here of the Society of William Wallace. Check out their website. Sign up if you're interested. Check out so this interview will be spread over a couple of episodes of our series 2 of Resolute TV. So we're really, really thrilled that you've taken part. And I'll probably annoy the piss out of you now that we're old friends, Garry. I'll be on the email or sending you texts or whatever, asking all sorts of questions and things like that. If there's anything we can do on this, it's a modest channel at this stage, but obviously we'd love to promote the historical work you're doing. I see great value in it as far as I'm concerned. William Wallace is one of history's great libertarians, or I'd at least like to think that he was one of history's great libertarians. And it's been an absolute privilege and a pleasure to learn about the society and the work you're doing. I really appreciate you taking the time to participate in this process.
Pleasure.
And mate, let's support freedom going forward, and we'll talk again soon.
Yep.
And as always, guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed those couple of interviews. We've got way more to come. Next week, we're talking with Michael Plumoff, who's part of Colonel Keith B. Taylor's team. They're fighting the Kentucky government, the Kentucky hemp fall guy. The guy's... The story should be in a movie. I don't know how to get it there, but it's an amazing story, and what goes on over there, it just shows more corruption in the political class, which we all know I'm dead set against. So tune in next week for that. We're going to do a catch-up with Arlene Engerfist Blanco after her world title defeat to Chris Cyborg, see how she's going. She's currently in quarantine. And we'll also be back with some Stefan Livera and Father Chris Yates, Stephen Wells. All of our usual suspects will be making an appearance over the next couple of weeks, and we've also got a few more big names coming on board. So, as usual, tune in, like, subscribe, share, all the fun stuff. And if you don't like it, don't like it. No problem. Watch something else. If you do like it, tune on in next week, and we'll see you then. Also, check out the Paradigm Shift episodes, because there are some really, really smart, interesting guys and girls on there as well. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week.